California is holding a dress rehearsal of the nation's first full-scale carbon market, designed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and head off climate change. I'm David Gillen for Business Day Live. And Stephanie Rosenblum will take a look at the best shoes for travelers. But first, I'm joined by Chris Easter, the Vice President of California-based First Carbon Solutions. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, David. How are you?
Great. Hey, thanks for Skyping in from North Carolina today. Quickly, just to remind folks, the idea behind cap and trade, I mean, as I understand it, companies buy and sell permits, which are also called allowances, to emit greenhouse gases, and businesses that reduce their emissions can sell their spare ones, and the cap is lowered over time, hopefully reducing pollution. Sound about right?
Generally, yes. There's also a component where you can implement carbon reduction projects and create emission reduction credits to sell into the market as well as the allowances. So yes, but the allowance part, absolutely.
Great. Now this auction, this test run out in California, is a couple hours away now, but California's been working on this for years, and millions, possibly billions of dollars that are at stake. I'm wondering how this is going to affect the debate over cap and trade. Not everybody agrees that this is the way to go.
You're breaking up a little bit, but I think the question is what are the implications on a wider basis of the California system?
That's right.
Very closely a California system, and if things go well, you have both detractors and advocates for the system. If they go well, then we could see this on a much broader scale, U.S.-wide. If it doesn't go well, there'll be fingers pointing towards some of the problems with the EUTS as well, and that the cap and trade might not be a viable option. It's critical.
Right. We're not hearing a lot about climate change at the Republican convention down in Tampa. I don't expect we're going to hear much about it at the Democratic convention next week in Charlotte. But there are a lot of people who are wondering about how to cope with this. There is an alternative here, which is a carbon tax. I mean, some economists, some who have actually written in the New York Times, have called for that. I mean, does that make any sense to you?
It's an option, and in fact, carbon tax on a very small scale is being implemented in some regional air districts in California. But I think the cap and trade is swinging going for a much more broad program, which will actually provide incentives for going above and beyond in terms of innovatively addressing your carbon footprint and reducing that. So to me, it provides incentives that a carbon tax simply cannot. It'll help move forward some innovative technologies on the alternative energy and also energy efficiency side.
Right. I mean, sounds good. Proponents of cap and trade always point to the success in cap and trade reducing acid rain here in the U.S., which is sulfur dioxide. It's not carbon dioxide or a greenhouse gas. But when the carbon market began in Europe a couple of years ago, 2005, I think, it did not get off to a very smooth start. I mean, in the beginning, it seemed like it was good for polluters, bad for investors, and didn't reduce emissions pretty much at all. What's going to be different about what's happening in California?
Well, they definitely took a long, hard look at that. In fact, there were some delays to make sure that we understood some of the pitfalls in the EUTS system. One of the issues was the wild volatility of the price of a metric ton of carbon on the European market.
Right.
California's addressed that with a $10 floor and a ceiling as well to try to keep the volatility in check. And there's some other items on the financial transaction side, a little bit more complex, that they're looking at implementing as well.
Right. Hey, Chris, thanks a lot. We'll be keeping an eye on this one, as will Wall Street, I think.
Absolutely.
Thanks. And finally, when traveling, the right footwear is essential, and who better to offer advice about the best travel shoes than those who fly for a living? Columnist Stephanie Rosenblum asked flight attendants for their shoe recommendations, and she filed this report.